Hey folks, as you can see, I got a lot of boxes behind me. A beautiful picture frame. In fact, because you're going to be making a picture frame out of all these things. A beautiful picture frame. So I'm going to show you how to, without using any actual machinery, even though this is woodworking class, beautiful picture frame. We're going to create something called a rabbet, and we're going to create something called a miter. A beautiful picture frame. It should be a lot of fun. Let's get to it. Beautiful picture frame. Now, I'm going to use the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a portrait or landscape yet. Now, one of the joints that you're going to do is called a miter. And the miter, if I could just get the light just right, is where two pieces of material meet in the corner at a 45-degree angle. In this case, you could have a different type of miter. You could have maybe an octagon, and then you would split the 45 degrees into 22.5 degrees, and so on. So we're going to create a miter. Now, one of the other cuts that we're going to create is called a rabbet. Now, the purpose of the rabbet is to hide the edges and use the thickness of the material. Hence the reason for the frame, the decorative frame. So if I had a picture in here, the rabbet would actually catch the glass. Now, we're not going to use glass in ours. I really don't want you to cut yourself. Then you would take the picture. Then you would take your backing. Now, this frame came with a little extra padding, and then actually came with a piece of cardboard, surprisingly enough. And then it would flip down, lock. We're going to do something else with the locking. We're probably just going to use some hot glue, but the rabbet takes up the space of all those pieces that just fell right into it. What I'm going to have you do is draw out a 1/4 inch around the perimeter of your picture, your piece of paper, or your collage, whatever you're going to use as your main piece of focus, your picture. Okay, for your next step, what I would do is get that big piece of cardboard that you're going to use just for the frame. I'm not going to put the graphics on here right now until I cut my strips. Now, the strips I'm going to make double as wide. So this current frame is 3/4 of an inch, and I'm going to cut them 1.5 inches wide. So I'm just going to cut one long strip. I don't care about any bends or anything like that are in here, but cut it long enough. Do not cut it exactly 11 inches or 8.5 inches. Just cut one really long strip. What you would do then, if you were in the wood shop, you would take your hunk of material, your wood material in this case, you would go over to the table saw and you would rip down 1.5 inch strip, 1.5 inch strip, 1.5 inch strip, 1.5 inch strip. Then we would go over to what a machine called the sliding power miter saw, and you would miter the corners. You would create that 45-degree cut to go right into the corners of your picture frame. So right now I'm just going to cut that 1.5 inches, and I'm going to trace it. Okay, folks, I got all my pieces cut. I got 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch, 1.5 pieces, and they're going to be longer than my 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Now, I need to cut the miters at a 45-degree angle. Now, you may not have a protractor or what we use in the wood shop called a combination square, is 90 degrees, 45 degrees. You also might not have the resources of a miter saw or anything else for that matter to create a 45-degree angle on, in this case, your pieces of cardboard. So I'm going to show you a real quick and easy way to get a 45-degree angle without doing a whole lot of guessing. This is not going to be perfect, but it's still going to look pretty darn good with our product. I'm just going to do an overshot, and I'm going to measure up one edge. I'm going to measure 4 inches. And I'm going to jump up top and measure 4 inches. Now, between those lines, I'm going to draw a straight line. So being that we have 4 inches and 4 inches. Now, I'm also going to measure up the line that I just drew. I'm going to measure out, guess what? 4 inches. I'm also going to measure on the edge of the paper. Hopefully whoever manufactured this paper is pretty darn square with their corners. 4 inches. Now, basic geometry tells us that this is 90 degrees, that's 90 degrees, that's 90 degrees, that's 90 degrees. Now, what is half of 90 degrees? If you need a calculator, get it out. But I'm going to tell you right now, if I mark corner to corner, now this doesn't have to be just a piece of paper. If you have something, there's my 45-degree mark. If you have something that's a perfect square, like a piece of cardboard, and you fold it in half, corner to corner, opposite corner to opposite corner, you're going to have a 45-degree angle. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually just going to cut out this little square. And once again, this is not going to be perfect. But just to get that angle, now I'm going to fold that corner right to that corner. And there is my 45 degree. Now what I'm going to do on each piece is, now I don't have my, way over here is my 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that I'm going to be framing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out a 45 degree line. I'm actually going to go ahead and use the pen, which I don't recommend doing in regular wood shop, but just so you folks can see a little bit better the 45 degree line. Now I'm going to cut that. And I'm going to do that with each and every one of my pieces just on one end, and you would do the same thing in the wood shop. So let's speed this video up. Okay, so I'm ready to lay out and cut the rest of my miters. Now, right in this corner, remember when we first started this, this is a 1/4 inch from the edge. This is just like the picture frame where, and excuse the darkness of this, right here is the rabbet. So I need my picture frame to set right over the top of this 1/4 inch area. So I'm going to bring my piece over and set it right over the frame. So if I were to look at this picture, the edge of everything else is going to get covered up. If I held it just right on the edge, that kind of defeats the purpose of creating a picture frame, because now it's just going to fall right through. So I need to catch the edge of the picture with that rabbet. So I'm going to put my frame right up in the corner, and right in here, this teeny tiny little corner is where I want my frame to end up. The other piece, I'm going to get right up in there, right up in that corner, and there is my miter. Now, how am I going to get the other ones marked? The other ones, wherever that line falls, so I'm going to bring this and I'm going to flip this around without interrupting where the other miter is falling. So right where, excuse my camera work. Remember folks, I told you in class today, I am not a YouTuber. So right where this line meets this piece of material is where I want my miter. Now this miter is going to go in the opposite direction of my previous miter. So I'm going to bring out my little, and I marked my 45 degrees on here. I'm going to put that right on the corner, the inside of the frame, and mark my 45 degrees. So my next piece that I'm going to put up there is going to fall right there, and it's going to catch my picture. So each one of those 45 degree miters creates your 90 degree corner. Excellent. Now we have to create the rabbet. Now because I created these, I cut these at 1.5 inches wide. I need to cut strips now that my collage here, my picture, is going to tuck inside. It's not just going to sit flat on the outside. So I need to build up my frame, and then I'm going to put all my decorations behind it. Okay, just to show you that this can be done with pretty minimal materials, I'm just going to use some regular old tape. I'm not going to use duct tape. I'm just going to start out with putting it together, and my guess, just because there's really no way to connect these corners in a solid manner, that it's probably going to be a little bit weak. So I think I might be building it up. This is where your creativity comes in. Let's get to it. Okay, now I'm really excited about this. Okay? My miters are not perfect. I have tape everywhere. This is the exciting part, is covering this up.